Hi everyone, Mature Simmer here. So it's May here, on year 100, and I'm here to just do some basic work. So I need to get the cows topped off, and I'm going to basically transport the slurry for sale, at least a good amount of it. Whether it's all of it or not, I'll determine later. Let me see. All right. So yeah, I need about 50,000 of straw. So I'll stick with that first. So, decision I've made just because of obligations in real life that are coming up and so forth. So, let me get this filled. It's pretty loud under here. There we go. Alright. Whoops. I kind of want to see where I need to go. Alright. So let me head through the tree and then get that going. But we're out of hay completely. So need to do that. But yeah, what I determined because of just challenges I've got in the next week or so, I'm not putting a crop in this year. That certainly was also kind of coupled by the fact that at this point, now that we know we're changing, we're in that weird phase where it's like there's just a feeling of there's going to be a lot going on when we move that is going to be disproportionately heavy in time, and so maybe a little bit of a break might make sense. Line that up with the fact that I'm way ahead in content for this FSN than the release calendar has, and all of it just kind of lines up to say, now's a good time to just take a break and do something else. So it's not that I'm not doing things, I'm just focusing a lot on something other than this. I don't know why that camera just suddenly goes under there this time. So maybe, I don't know, I guess I was coming through here with a tractor and the dolly last. I haven't done this since 2 times ago, but so yeah, so even if I don't have videos, even if I kind of sit out a couple years from FSN, I'd still be okay. It's certainly going to be more of a challenge if I go, basically 30 days without much content. And, the content I'd have would be something like this. I mean, I'm still going to do work with the cows, sell milk and so forth, but I have enough supply that I don't have to worry about it. Alright, so I definitely need a full truck of silage. Silage is the only one that's 120,000. And actual mineral feed's running pretty well. You can see we have 216 animals now. Now the other thing that is of interest, I'm going to keep talking, I'm going to start walking once I give you this detail, but you'll notice food, 93,225. We talked about the barn being a bit bugged in that there was leakage in the food, and there was belief that it might get down to 0 at some point, but that appears to possibly be incorrect. Now, once again, we don't have 240, so my hesitation there is intentional, because as I'm talking about this, it's possible that there's, something that I'm not catching here, so I'm just trying to be careful with the hay, because I really can't do more than 40,000. And again, there's no reason to fill it up to the last liter here, because it's constantly pulling food every hour, so the goal is really, just get them a lot of food. So I'm going to go get a full thing of silage after this. That's going to take a while to fill. And then, at this point we're good anyway, because it just ran out of hay when I adjusted my time. So I had about 1,800 liters when I popped in here, and then I had to sync up, I think from like 3:50 to 5 a.m. So basically it took food twice, and that depleted the hay. But that 93,225, at one point I had come in here after, again, the issues that I've got going on that are just making it a little more challenging for me to be in here. And inadvertently, the barn had run out of supplies to make food, so food had dropped to 0. The cows had eaten everything, and their health was down, and so forth. I refilled back in February, I think it was, yeah. And so since February, it has then gone from 0 food with 216 cows. So the cows are eating while it's distributing food, and it's gotten itself back to 93,225. Now it seems to be there, because that's what it was when I popped in before I time synced. That's what it's at. So whatever they've done might stabilize there. And so maybe what they determined was that was good enough. Because once again, if it doesn't empty, it doesn't really matter, even if it stabilized at 1. Just as long as your cows are always 100% healthy and the feeder would not run fully empty. So that gives me a lot more comfort now that I've seen that happen with re-engaging in this version of farming, meaning having dairy in Hobo's Hollow once I move, because I'm not having this specter over my head of, well, what if the FSN folks don't tweak the mod, and then I'm having to somehow augment stuff. It doesn't look like I'm going to need to do that, so that's good. There's a possibility that when it really cranks itself up to 240, it's going to, it's going to be all the way down. I think I'm going to fill this with silage at this point, and I think that's going to be too much, but given that I'm not actively doing anything on the farm, I'm not going to need this trailer, and they're definitely going to go through the silage in a year or whatever it's going to be before I get back on here to plant some more crop. So, there's been some things I've learned, as always, which is just what I really enjoy about the long-term farming aspect of FSN that we've got here, is that just like a regular farmer, I learn things about my operation constantly that have me reevaluating and tweaking and thinking and so forth. Now I know a little over 500,000 liters of silage before I emptied these trucks. Now I've taken 120,000 out, so I'm probably right around 400,000. So we're definitely, kind of gonna have to keep an eye on things. Hay is definitely one. It's lower. I think it was at 240 when I started before I pulled any, and obviously I've pulled whatever it was, 50, or no, hay is what I was out of, so I've pulled 90,000, 80,000, so I'm probably down to 150,000 of hay, so that's going to be my immediate need. But this silage is not going to empty completely, I don't believe. See how close we get. So there we go. Well, actually, I don't want to stop, because no, I do not want to use the tractor to pull everything to the sale point, the silage. I think, let me just double check, I didn't look at milk specifically. Yeah, we're still good. So I had emptied out the milk before and just sold it in map. I don't remember if I had included that or not, but kind of in this interim stage, that's what's been happening. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead here. Yeah, I just need to leave the trailer. So we go back here, disconnect, and then pull this forward. And I can, put this away later. I just need to get, well, probably put it on the road or get close to it. How about that? So that's good enough. Alright. Because initially I was like, well, I got the truck. I'm going to now have to move the truck around the thing I just kind of blocked it with, which would have been okay, but so this I think is already full, and we've got the 450. Like, it's been that way for a while, so I've certainly passed on some silage that I could have had that I could have made some money on, but sometimes that's just what happens. Alright, so I know we just take it to PV Mart. That's really our only option. Hopefully we don't have any difficulty getting on. Oh, come on. So I think we're going to be in the same boat here. Alright. So I've got to move that other trailer out of the way, because basically I've got to swing and take a sharper turn to get out of here with the trailer. And that's where sometimes the tractor is better. It's got more horsepower, I think, but I'll see if I can move this without connecting up. I kinda can, but not really well. So let me just stop playing this game. So I'll go park this over here, but obviously instead of moving 4 miles an hour, we're very quickly able to speed up, so it's kind of foolish to not do that, and it makes sense. I'm just trying to cut corners, and I probably really shouldn't be that sloppy. So yeah, the reality of what it is it's just, I volunteer and help out with at work the local polls. So coming up on election day here in the US for this year, and with that coming up, and gotta drive some family members around to the airport on certain days too. And so again, between everything that's coming up in the next, all those things happen in the next week, and so it became, you know what, this is just going to be too much to have to sit and worry, because honestly, just rough math here for me, I think harvest would be on that day that I'm having to transport a bunch of people, and I don't want the false stress created by a video game to be, oh, I'm missing out. And so rather than go through all the irritation of that, it was like, I'll just leave the field alone. Again, we just have to work our fields every 3 in-game years, which means once every 36 days, and I think work is very loose. They're not like requiring you, even if you don't want, to go ahead and actually run a full cycle. I mean, it would be a little crazy. I mean, I suppose then I could just plow the field and say that was it. But I also don't know. As you go here through Rented's field, you can see it's May. It's pretty late in the planting cycle. I mean, again, today is May, so it's possible he's going to go ahead and plant today. But there may also be, because he's one of the folks moving to Medicine Creek, which can happen earlier, he may be kind of taking a step back too. So overall, unfortunately, yeah, this ends up being one of those situations where, as when we moved from Seneca here, you kind of get in this state where, like it or not, it takes away a bit of the enthusiasm of just pressing on. So it becomes pretty easy, and I think we're seeing it for many folks. When I get to PV Mart, maybe what I'll do, just out of curiosity, is, I'll just take a look at the crop map, or more the field state map, because the crop map, if they harvested something off the field last year, it could still show they have crop in the field. What I really need to understand is, does anyone have anything growing, and what extent on the fields is really growing? But it becomes too easy, and I think it's hit a lot of us, of just, I'll use this time to do some other things, and then, okay, yeah, it's not this one, it's the next. Yeah, I'm gonna knock out his garbage can. Luckily, it's drive-through here, but, yeah, otherwise I would have had trash everywhere in real life. It would have been pretty bad, but, so, yeah, people tend to, as myself, I've got other sims and things I dabble in and play in, and so I've just taken this opportunity to immerse myself more in other things and do some exploration. But let's take a peek. So if I go to this filter here, alright, so it looks like, even though they didn't do anything on 8, JP's planting, they're planting, this is Nick. So, we've got some other folks who are on here as well, though. Like here, I believe. Maybe that's FSN. This extra purple is really hard, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 5 FMs on the server. So yeah, the yellow, what's the field that they own? Oh, I see. So he's been clearing stuff, so I think he may have just bought, or no, okay, that's JP. So JP's down here. Clearing. And then the pink, okay, is up here on 35, but that's just harvested, so we can see perhaps they won't be doing anything. I think, though, see, I think those are 2 different versions of pink. Sorry. No, I guess there's only one pink. And then this light blue. So we kind of have the light blue and the dark blue is the challenge. So yeah, I think 30, 31. No, that's rented. But then this is like the darker blue. So yeah, I think these are all Nick. And then that's the pink, but they just haven't done this field, so they're just doing 13, so they're just doing a piece. And I think that ends up being it. I think this is a farmer that's no longer here, so I think this is reverted to FSN. So it had been harvested at one point. Anyway, let's keep moving, because I've got lots of loads of slurry to pull. Just keep in mind the load I just brought was in the tanker already. So the 450,000 is still in the tanks in the barn. It is full to the gills and can't take any more. And unlike other animal productions, if you want to call it that, with like chickens or sheep, if the pallets get full, like we saw with the bees when I was running those here on the farm way back, they'll kind of store up in the background, and then they'll just come out when there's a spawn point for them. But slurry just stops accumulating, and luckily it doesn't have any realistic effects if suddenly it starts overflowing and poisoning the barn and stuff like that. So there's a little bit of leeway there in the fact that it's a game, and they're not gonna make it miserable for you if you are unable to get to things. But it's also the uniqueness of FSN that, like in a single player save game, the game isn't progressing when I'm not in it. So there is the uniqueness of I only need to get to things because of the nature of FSN. Otherwise the slurry wouldn't be getting produced. Oh, that's silo, JP's silo way out there. It's kind of a nice visual that I've not seen before. So that's the situation. By the time you see this video, like all that's going on now that's impacting the channel will have been long gone. Because again, in real life, as I mentioned, we're kind of at the start of November here. So, but I think this video is going to be showing up around Christmas time. So, what I'm doing now is now going to be nearly 2 months old by the time I talk about it, which is why I'm not going to spend a lot of time getting into details. I'll talk about them in the videos there, but I've definitely decided, I think I'm shifting things around some of the series on the channel that both I'm less enthused about and the audience seems less enthused about. I'm probably going to let them stop, and just there's a little bit of me, and this is kind of me kind of being new to this whole YouTube sphere. The story consumer in me, like when I talk about, say, TV drama or something, TV shows, that individual in me feels like, well, I need to, I can't just leave people hanging, I need to finish the storyline. But there really isn't a storyline in an ongoing series. Oh, come on. I don't recall this being this challenging to... Oh, good. Now I'm going to have this situation where I can't back up either. Oh, boy, oh, boy. So, yeah, and this is... I'm not going to miss this, I'll tell you that, from this barn. So I think I'm going to have to go around and bang into it a couple times and knock it sideways and kind of twist it around, which is some of the fun with Farm Simulator physics. So we'll just come around here, whack it. I didn't really get a good enough run at it. I was going to say, is it really going to get that stuck too now? But it didn't, thank goodness. But yeah, I'm going to try to hit more of the front, get it turned around It's not moving nearly enough, but it's moving, so I'll keep tapping at it, and eventually I think it'll be straight enough that I can then pull it away from the building, although I'm worried the tail light things are gonna hang on, because that's the other problem that happens. But let me give it one more hit for good measure, because otherwise I think I'm going to be really frustrated if I connect and then can't actually move out. But yeah, it's this kind of stuff. If I can avoid it in my setup in Hobo Hollow, because again, the part of my head where my head is going there is Hobo Hollow isn't exactly a flat map, and that again is part of the interest that me and others have in it. But there is a flat section. It's just going to be kind of funny. I may end up saying, you know what, for ease, I may just farm the flat and just be happy that I have a map that isn't. But I don't know. I can't imagine that'll ultimately be what I do. Come on. Wow. Alright, well, it was moving backwards, and now it's not. Alright, well, I think I'm going to resort to... I'll see if I can get the tractor to pull it out. So this is sometimes the stuff that doesn't make it in on camera, but I'm going to let you enjoy it with me here, if you'd like, because it's just what I deal with sometimes. So, alright, I should, with the quad, I have a pretty tight turn radius, so I should be able to just get out of here. It's going to take me a while to dance around and pull in there, but with the tractor, there's more horsepower. Let me back off so I can both see and hear. But yeah, this is the stuff that happens sometimes, and it's the reality of what we've got in FSN is, you know, we're encouraged not to just reset stuff. Plus, if I reset this, I lose what's in the tractor, or the trailer, but which again wouldn't be the end of the world. Am I really not lined up? Or is it just really not gonna... Oh boy. Don't tell me it's too high and it's not gonna connect up to the dolly. That would be disappointing. I mean, again, I suppose I could beat this into submission with a tractor then. There we go. Alright. Feel a little bit better now. See, but you can see the horsepower there. It's just... I'd prefer not to pull with this because I can only go like 25. With the tractor, so it takes longer to get to the store. So I think all in all, even if I have to pull myself free once in a while, it'll be better to go the other way. Alright, so now that I got hijacked by my crash, what I was in the middle of explaining was, you know, I've kind of decided the survival series that's on weekends, I think I've gotten the excitement out of that I really can. At this point, it would turn into something like this, where I'm just working it, not necessarily doing anything specific, and in honesty, then it's not a survival challenge. It's now turned into just farming, and I don't think there's enough interest in two different series. I mean, yeah, that's a different map. It's certainly not the scale we're talking here of 150-acre field and so forth, but, you know, so you understand to some degree. I guess I could spend 10 minutes trying to justify why, but in the end, most people probably don't care. They just are like, hey, let me know what's happening, and if I like it, I'll be sad to see it go, and hopefully it isn't enough that some people are only coming and sticking with the channel just because of that. Given how infrequent that series is, that would seem unlikely, but anyway. So that's going to open up a slot, and it will likely be filled. At this point, my thought is I'm going to put the Mega VIP experiment that I'm working on there, because that one, honestly, sorry, I think I got everything in time. I had a sneeze that came on there, but rather than do a cut or whatever, I was like, I'll just mute. I think I got to it in time. If not, I do apologize. Okay, another one hit me there, which is why I nearly drove off the road. Now I'm just driving off the road because I, for some reason, can't get this thing to not respond without massive adjustments, even though I'm barely turning my wheel. So that'll go there, and then the other thing, I'm not going away completely from Train Simulator, but I'm like, I didn't want to jackknife there, so that's why I took that more scenic route through the trees when I realized I was flying past the road here. I'll probably still do Train Simulator videos, but that is another one that I think, because it's just a little bit repetitive. I mean, all I'm able to really do there is run a scenario and kind of record that as my Let's Play. And unless someone's interested in a particular route or whatever, short answer is those almost never get even up to 10 views when they're put up. So there's people looking at them, but not an audience of any substance. And right now I'm doing that every fourth day. And I started that because at that point I had a lot of things that I was going through. I still have a ton. I picked up a lot of things when there was a sale, and so there's a lot of lines, there's lots of scenarios, and then obviously we have the workshop where I had done the RB Jets series, and that was just 36 scenarios itself, so that ended up being 36 episodes just plowing through that. But once again, if you weren't interested in the Mariah's Pass that was being played on, that may just be days that you just never looked at things. And so something that's I've gotten into, it's been on my radar forever, is the Frontier series of Planet Coaster, Planet Zoo. I've got both of those, and so those are going to slot in as I just have things, because again, I think those are going to be a lot more sporadic too, because just the nature of I'm trying to get familiar with it. I've spent about 20 hours in each of those games, so I'm decent enough to be dangerous, but far from proficient at them, versus the 2,000-3,000 hours I have in Farming Simulator, where I'm quite good at it and understand it pretty thoroughly. I've got a long way to go within that, and so I just like the building aspect, being able to try to recreate things and so forth. So I've got a couple ideas for each one, or some ideas for each of them, I should say, and so those will be coming out they'll have been out before that you even hear about this here. So I think I've got the first Planet Coaster one already scheduled, and it's uploaded for the next couple days to take the place of one of the Train Simulator things and so forth. So think of this as the backstory behind the scenes of how the channel changed the way it did. So at this point, this is what I'm going to be doing until I just decide I've had enough, because I don't know that I'm actually going to empty the slurry. I don't know that I want to do 8 more loads of this, especially if I keep getting hung up every time. But I'll probably do at least 2 or 3 more, and then that'll be it. So I've given you what I can. You understand what I'm doing. I happily made it around that corner. I am thrilled. But with that, I will bid you adieu, and I will see you next time.